regular meeting of the Aurora Housing Authority for November 18, 2015. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Bill Powell.
Here.
Melanie Wembley.
Here.
Ray Cruz.
Commissioner Cruz is, I believe, still out of town, so he won't be here today.
Scott Horace.
Here.
Dave Richard.
Here.
Mariana Hill.
Hill. Here.
Anthony Sanford.
Here. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 28, 2015.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been motion and second. Any discussions?
Just had one, Chief, in our minutes last time, we talked about the approval of those two resolutions subject to, then we have Jessica's letter, so I guess everything that's in the minutes is fine, I just wanted to make sure we were gonna talk about that at
Yes.
some point. Okay,
Yep.
super.
Yep.
Alright, I have no other comments.
Been motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any public comments? Public. Move on to review of financial reports.
The Housing Authority for the month of October had a really good month. We had $148,000 net profit, which is always good. It was kind of a one-time thing. It was driven by some capital drawdowns that we did for operations. So some money that came in for our operational side that helped to kind of boost us for the month. Programmatically, the public housing program had about $104,000 net profit. The Section 8 program had about a $44,000 net profit. So the month of October was a pretty good month financially in all programs. I think I think the size of the profit will be kind of a one-time thing. I don't really expect us to be doing $100,000 every month, but I do think we'll have some pretty good months for the rest of the fiscal year going forward. We made some of that shifts, as you noticed earlier in the fiscal year. Kind of the profits were the opposite, where the Section 8 program had a lot more of the profit than the public housing program did, and now we've done some reallocation. You see that it's kind of switched over now, where some of the expenses and the revenues are more geared towards the public housing program. Are there any questions?
You said the drawdowns came from where again?
Our capital fund.
Okay. And how much was drawn down?
About $140,000 or $50,000. And most of the profit here is because of that. Any other questions? Questions on the list of bills?
I just had one question. R&M contractors, they're doing some who are they? I'm not familiar with them.
RMG. They're actually, they used to be O'Neill, but a lot of them start their own business, so they're actually started their own.
So that's
RMG, is that what you're talking about?
No, you're referring to R&M contractors. They do a lot of the unit turns and some of the larger. Their firm, I think they're out of Kankakee, right? Okay, so they do a lot of the unit turns for us. They do a lot of our the upgraded units. They work a lot on those. They're really quick, which is really good for us because it allows us. We've gotten our unit turn times down to almost a week's time sometimes. In the smaller units, the bigger units are a little bit longer, but they've just been we competitively bid all of those. We get 3 bids from different groups, and they've just consistently been the lower bid contract, and they've done really good work for us. So. We just kind of split it up too. We don't all, even if they are, sometimes we just want to make sure we spread out the work. Sometimes we just work with them. I can't think of the other firm's name. Reiner, yeah. So there are a couple other firms that we use, but they just they consistently have just a lower price for us usually, and it's partly because they do volume work with us. They kind of give us a lower price because they're going to do so much work with us over the course of a year.
We're going to skip to the departmental reports. Let's just jump into any old business.
I believe Commissioner Voris wanted to touch on I think it falls under old business, the 2 approvals from last month and went through legal review.
Right, yeah.
Oh, no.
I am. I'm reading the. So the way that I read Jessica's memo was that for the management, the Northern Lights was the less expensive, but it seemed like after you factored in, like initially it was more expensive, but after you factored in all the things that were not kind of included, like line by line item, then in total it was less,
Mhm.
and it got a higher score. And then on the second part of it, it was Northern Lights was the higher, but it still got higher scores. So just I guess a couple questions. One is the second piece of it, which is more like I guess the qualitative or piece of it. What's involved with that? Where how do you score these proposals and say one gets an 83, one gets a 66?
So we basically use there's a kind of a HUD, I kind of want to say recommended guidance. We basically categorize them by 5 different categories. 2 of which are, whether or not they're a local business, and the other being whether or not they are a minority or disadvantaged business. The other 3 are related to the proposal. So the company's organizational experience, the understanding of the proposal, of the bid packet, and then price. Northern Lights was more expensive on the voucher management contract. We scored higher on the understanding of the bid packet and on the organizational experience, mainly because the Northern Lights Development Company is already doing the voucher management, has successfully done so now for basically all of this year. One of the major differences in the price for that particular bid was that the Northern Lights Development Corporation provides on-site management. And these are senior properties, so we send people out to those properties. They drive, they go there at least 3 times a week. The other firm intended to do everything remotely, which is not exactly what the original Franciscan Ministries really had asked for. So, it was just I think the scoring difference was really driven by that, and the pricing difference too was really driven by the fact that Northern Lights Development Corporation anticipated costs for having to make sure that we had this on-site capability, where the other firm really didn't have to bother with that.
And who's the ultimate decision maker as far as like choosing the bid?
Well, as far we score them, so we usually pick a committee of people to do the scores. In this case, because it was the Northern Lights Development Corporation, we didn't let anybody from that organization be involved in the scoring. So Natasha Magruder, who was our external operations consultant, scored, and then Maria Godinez scored as well.
And so how do you, so is there a process to kind of equate a score to dollars, in that sense? Because, so if you have an instance like this where, one scored higher, but it was also the higher bid, so is there like how do you make that determination?
Well, each category is scored individually. So on the pricing that category, the Northern Lights Development Corporation actually scored lower than the other firm did in the pricing category, but we average out all 3. So it's a total score of 100 points. And so operational, we probably scored like an 80. The other firm might maybe scored a 70. The other, understanding of the bid, we probably scored an 80 and they scored a 70. But for pricing, Northern Lights Development Corporation would have scored a 70 and the other firm would have scored an 80 because they had a lower price. And I don't know, Jessica, if you want to kind of chime in at all with your review.
Sure. If you guys have any questions about the memo, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We believe the board is justified in choosing Northern Lights on both projects and for both bids. But we did want to point out that Northern Lights was more expensive for the voucher management, just so that's something that you guys consider. And like we said in the memo, price is not the sole determining factor. It's those other factors that you can consider, and that Keith mentioned that were used in the scoring categories.
So maybe I didn't catch that total score. So the total score of Northern Lights was higher than the other one.
Yes. So Northern Lights did score higher on each. For property management, Northern Lights scored 83 out of 100 and 85 out of 100 for the 2 people that scored. That's voucher. So for voucher management, Northern Lights scored 83 out of 100 and 85 out of 100, whereas the other company scored 70 and 81. And then for the first one, the property management, Northern Lights scored 88 out of 100 and 78 out of 100 versus 86 and 65.
And something you'll see when we talk about the resolutions and the new procurement policy, because it's kind of we talk about the legal review, and I think that's a very important part of that when we're dealing with closely related entities. That's actually in the procurement policy now, so that anything that we are potentially going to award to a closely related entity, whether it be the Northern Lights Development Corporation or some future closely related entity, they have to go through a legal review before they can be awarded or negotiated. So I think that's an additional step, just to, as we talked about, to avoid the perception that we're just doing things to be doing them. This way, there's that added step of compliance to make sure that we're adhering to that.
Yeah, I guess I still see it as being an issue with even the scoring, because I understand that Maria did it and I trust her objectivity, but from the outside looking in, you're her boss.
True.
And I'm not sure that that's the layer of protection that we need necessarily in that. I don't know what the answer is, but it seems like somebody else should be scoring that.
So who were the scorers again? I know Maria, you said.
And then Natasha Magruder, she doesn't work at the housing authority, she's an operations consultant.
Oh, I see, okay.
We pay her
Yes.
money.
Yes.
Okay. I know. I guess we have to pay her money to do it. So, but
Did legal take a look at that, whether or not the scoring by housing authority personnel on this particular bid was appropriate?
I mean, we definitely considered that in our review, and that seems like it's permitted. It seems like it would be more of a policy decision for the board to require somebody who might appear to be less biased. I'm not saying that they were biased, but legally, we found that to be fine and in compliance with the HUD regulations.
Okay. So it's back with us?
It's back with us, and if there's no other questions, then we'll probably just wait until the new business, and we'll bring the resolution with that time. Nobody says any other questions on that issue?
Yeah, it's just, I don't have any other questions on the old bid. I think one thing that would be helpful, besides maybe kind of thinking through what a process would be for Northern Lights, kind of address Dave's issue they brought up, and then the other thing, and just it's just kind of, as we got the information from Jessica, it just kind of struck me that on all these, like even on the Synergy today, we know who the recommendation is, but it's like we don't see. It'd be nice to have just a summary of this is what the dollars were. These were the 4 vendors. These were the dollars. These are how we scored them, just so that we can read through it quickly and understand. Not to redo the work or second guess it, but at least we know a level of detail that we don't know right now.
Noted.
I'm sorry?
Noted?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
that's all right.
I mean, of course, Keith can do this and any member of the board can do this, but if we vote for this, on this under new business today, that's fine. But I could also check with people at HUD to find out and I'm almost sure that it is okay to do this. But if you want that level of security,
Right.
then I can absolutely check with them and find out.
yeah, again, for me, it's not like I don't feel like we're doing anything wrong at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to guard against the perception that, so I'd rather I understand that we're working within the framework of HUD, and I have no doubt about that right now, but I think that, I'm just saying, I'd like to go one step above that for our group to make sure that,
Well, Dave, it's all about perception.
yes.
Whether you're right or wrong or within the regs, it's about perception.
And again, I know this, that when, people start putting A and B together, that there's gonna be a lot of questions, so.
And
I'd
especially
rather
because I think
do
we
that
have,
work now and not have to, and so that we can say, this is what we've done, this is how we protected ourselves and the city, or whatever, so that we're not looking reactive when something does come up, that we thought it through, we went an extra step to protect ourselves.
Well, I know
would
it's
like
not-
us to get
I know it's not
Questions?
new.
I'm sorry, my question would be then, who would you reach out to that knows the business to turn around and do the scoring?
I would say that there'd have to be people out there that do that. So I would think, of all the consultants I see running around, there are.
But if you got a consultant, then we're still paying the consultant to turn around and do, so that.
Well, that's why I was saying that last comment, I guess we ultimately were gonna have to be payment regardless, but, I still think, yeah, I don't know, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean, I realize ultimately we're gonna be paying somebody to do that, but I feel like it still should be someone besides staff, you know.
Your concern.
Mhm.
You got something to say to?
Is there, Keith, do you know, I mean, are there,
There aren't, I'm gonna say there, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to, like I said, I mean, we're gonna pay whoever it is. You can ask anybody to review as long as they're familiar with, you know, the kind of work that you're asking them to review. And, you know, with the development company in particular, you know, the work is pretty straightforward. It's nothing that amazingly complicated. We could ask any number of other organizations or other people to be involved in a review of that. I mean, our accounting firm has a procurement arm. They could review them. But again, they're our accounting firm. You know, Natasha, again, is our operations consultant. You know,
yeah, I just think that there would be somebody, over here that we're not consistently giving money to, you know, that could look over this stuff.
Sure, and like I said, there's no shortage of people who will take our money to review things.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm sure that there's another entity. Maybe there's somebody, you know, at the city even that we could reach
Right.
out to that kind of we can back and forth some of those things. And then of course, I think if it's with the city, it might be a little less of an issue that we're sending money to because it's the city. They have the same kind of responsibilities to protect the agency as we do.
Suggestion.
Mhm.
Fire. There's a, I know somebody in fire that we could probably call and ask,
Sure.
has this arisen with other jurisdictions and what they have done in a sense to turn around and, because they have like, don't they have like, I don't wanna say hotline, but,
Yeah, they got a hotline.
but I just remember that from the last conference.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I remember from the last conference that I went to, with the housing authority people there, that, you know, sometimes there are, you know, then within the board, you know, you have committees, you know, some boards are set up that way where they have committees, so, I mean, maybe it would be like one person from the board, like doing a little bit more in depth than we all, you know, we got this a couple days ago, this new one especially, it's like, okay, and then that new resolution, you know, with so maybe it's somebody from the board along with, you know, a couple other people that kind of.
Sure.
I don't know, just thinking out loud, but
I'll put together some options and present those maybe in the next week or so.
yeah, maybe.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold off on the HUD call. You guys.
Sure. Yeah.
figure out-
Let me get that
okay,
out to
all right.
everybody, and you guys can determine what you guys want to
Okay.
do with that.
All right. What about the on-site review updates?
So we have one resolution, coming to the board this month. Our procurement policy is another updated policy that we're gonna, you know, and like I said, every month you're gonna be seeing new policies. We're also the HUD 51999, the General Depository Agreement. I'll need your signature and actually Commissioner or Secretary Wembley's signature as well on that, so we can get that other item off of our little checklist of things to do. So that'll be the item for this month. We'll have more next month. Section 3 policy is one we're gonna have for next month. Then I think we'll probably also have a few like new some financial policies, a couple other things that we'll just want to have in front of you guys by next month as well.
New business, resolution 2015-10.
So the first resolution is our approval of the fair market rents for next calendar year. Pretty straightforward. You know, we've done this the last couple of years. HUD sets these amounts every year for us and sends them out to us. We have the option to approve them at 110%, 100%, or 90%. It's usually been my recommendation here that we do them at 100%. It allows us, I think, the kind of best the best combination of dollars to landlords and number of families served. You know, I know we always kind of have a discussion: should we spend more? Should we spend less? And that's certainly a discussion we probably need to have here as well. You know, but the recommendation has always been, and it is in this coming calendar year, 100%. As well, I know Commissioner Richard, you had some questions about that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was more of information just to get everybody on the same page. Was everybody able to follow that kind of email string this week? So I guess it's more of I think it's a policy thing that we need to think about whether, do we wanna serve the most people possible, but possibly, reduce their chances of getting
Nicer place.
quality, higher quality homes, or do we wanna serve more people with the current, rent structure, which is just low, it's just all there is to it, and it's not our fault, HUD gives us these numbers. I don't know if there's a way to fight them, but, fight for more money, I guess that's the question I have, is there?
Well, the challenge, and we have the option if we wanted to set our payment standards at 110%, we could. The problem is that HUD's not gonna send us more money because we did that.
Right, but do we have an opportunity to tell HUD, look, this is not the amount that covers 80% of the housing that these
Yeah.
people are looking for?
I would say, there's always the option to, write that letter or make that request. It's very unlikely that it is gonna go anywhere. I'm not saying that we can't do that, we absolutely can. It's just that because of the way HUD sets these figures, they're not just for us. They group us with Chicago, like I said, they group us with Chicago, Naperville, Joliet. So that they average all of that in together. I again think that, there's certainly, to answer your question, we can do that. I just wouldn't expect HUD to move on it much.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a process for repeal or something on that. Well, then, I guess the question is out there, like, what do we wanna do, as a organization? I think it's kind of a policy thing.
What are the numbers at last year in this?
I didn't bring the
I
test.
have them here. I have them here too. You want to see it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, last year,
Yeah.
last year, this year, 2015 was $812, $922, $1093, $1393 for 3-bedroom, $1624 for 4, and $1867 for 5-bedroom. This year, we're asking for an increase, basically $38 for, I don't understand the zero.
It's a studio.
Studio,
Mhm.
30 increase for studio, $67 for 1-bedroom, $69 for 2-bedroom, $83 for 3-bedroom, $134 for 4, and $155 for 5.
That's good, the math.
Yeah, and then again, just to be clear, that this is not actual rent that the landlord's getting, this is the amount that we give if the landlord is also paying for utilities.
Yeah.
So it's a little inaccurate as far as like a full number.
So this
Contract.
includes utilities?
So so you.
That would be the contract rent.
Right, when the landlord pays the utilities.
So it'd be more typical that, our families would be supplementing this, or is this?
Well, the families all supplement to a certain degree anyway. They have to pay 30% of their income towards this number. All this number really represents is the maximum rent that can be charged. So if I'm the landlord and I say I'm gonna rent somebody and I'm gonna pay all the utilities for my 3-bedroom apartment, the max that I can charge is $14.76. Whether the housing authority pays all of that or the housing authority pays a smaller portion of that is dependent upon the resident's income. They're gonna pay some and we're gonna pay some.
There's not gonna be anything more than that?
But no, it can't be more than $14.76.
That's my question.
So and if they want a place that's more expensive than that, then they can just pay the landlord on the side?
No.
They do.
Yeah, so it happens, but they're not supposed to.
Sue, do you have any opinions on this? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think at 100% is good.
You do?
You don't wanna go lower because then we have to reduce and that's it.
We have to reduce what?
We would, if the rents are already at the payment standard and we went lower than, if we reduced it to the 90 percentile.
They'd have less options. I think he's saying, what about if we did 110?
If we went 110, that would just be
Less
affecting
families.
new families that are leasing up.
Do you think in the marketplace, or from what your perspective, your eyes on the places that these people, that they're able to rent, would that 10% make a difference in quality of
I don't think
places?
if it went higher, it would make any difference.
Why?
That's just my opinion.
I know, I'm just curious.
landlords in the program.
Okay.
And they're just gonna want more because they can get more.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't mean they're gonna improve the property or.
They're in for money.
Are these rents getting us into areas where we've not previously been?
Not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Section 8 program does reach, a lot of places I think people don't necessarily think it reaches. We have landlords in the DuPage County area. Not many. I'm not gonna say we have like tons, but we have some. That's partly why we offer the intergovernmental agreement with the DuPage County Housing Authority for the tax payment program. So we do get landlords in that region who are interested in renting out to our tenants. I think we're pretty much at a point where, and I don't imagine that it's going 110% is going to open new doors in new neighborhoods. I don't think we're going to have, 20% more people in Stonebridge or in that region. I do agree that I think it does provide our families with more.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking, I don't want people to get into Stonebridge, but I'm
Well,
talking
no,
about nicer areas. Well, I mean, I think the examples, that's too extreme.
Right.
I mean, no, I'm talking about, a nice place on the east side or a decent area on the west side.
No, I do think that, it would provide potentially options. I think it goes back to kind of what Sue said, though, in her experience with, it would provide new families into the program more options.
At 100%.
At 110%. At 100%, we're basically staying the line. We're holding the line and saying that, the options that are out there are going to continue to be the options that are out there.
Okay.
And I think, for us to encourage better landlords to be involved in the program is about us doing better outreach and us doing better PR.
Right.
And really getting the program in front of people. I think part of our challenge and our responsibility really is to market this program. And I think that's something, in the coming year we really need to do more of, is really get this program out, because I think the program is really what is the draw for the landlords. Every month, no worries, that check's gonna get paid. You have issue with the resident, we can help with that, all of those kind of things. But no, I agree that, 110% may open a few more doors. I don't know that it's that significant, because I kind of agree with Sue that you're gonna have the landlords we currently have asking for more money. I also just think the other challenge is financial. HUD's not going to throw more dollars at us because of this. So now, where we're already, they're already taking chunks of money away from us. Those chunks are even more significant now because we're paying a higher rent out to people. So now when families come off the waiting list, we're going to be even less likely to take that voucher and put it back out on the street. We're probably going to have to hold on to it so that we can get the financials back in balance. But again, I think the question for the board is more, do we want to give it a go and see if we can make a big dent in some of these areas where we're not potentially making a dent. That's certainly an option I think is out there. Again, my recommendation at 100% is based on one, financially speaking, I think that's the soundest move for the housing authority, and then two, I personally, from what we've seen, I don't really believe that it will make a significant immediate impact in where families can go.
I'd like to add one other thing too. If you compare the increase of the 2016 to the 15 and then the 15 to the 14, that's, I would say, it's probably a good increase. And about 3 years ago, they actually decreased the fair market rents. And that was when we had a nightmare, because if landlords were asking the fair market rent, we couldn't decrease it till the following year. So if you look at that, plus the fact that they're saying the cost of living hasn't really increased, there's no Social Security raises this year, and so we're still raising those fair market rents. So I think it's just good to keep it at 100%.
Fact is that still it limits people to about a quarter of the stock that's out there. And there's just nothing we can do about it, but it's too bad.
Any other discussions?
Resolution 1511 is the approval of our procurement policy. Kind of goes back to the discussion we had a little bit earlier about some old business items. So this is just one old business item where we need to kind of clean up and update and modernize our procurement policy. I did send it out with the board package to everybody, so you guys did have a chance to kind of go through that very fun and lengthy document. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.
I guess I did get it. I didn't really have a chance to look through it like I wanted to. If we table this for another month, is that gonna have a huge impact on?
No, it wasn't going to affect until January 1st anyway.
Got a motion to table then? Or? You just did.
Yeah, we just,
Yeah, table it next month.
Yeah, I just want to prove something I really didn't.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to review it.
Well, Jessica, we'll just table that to next month. Resolution 2015-12.
2015-12 is the approval of our energy performance contract. I did send out some background documentation for that as well, showing one, the excerpt from the strategic plan where we did discuss, that we were going to kind of embark on this plan, and then some documentation from HUD just kind of explaining what an energy performance contract was, and some of the kind of frequently asked questions regarding energy performance contracts. Essentially, we've gone through a whole bid process in regards to the energy performance contract. We did have two bidders, CTI Energy and Johnson Controls. We selected CTI Energy primarily, I think, because their proposal was really, really in tune to what the Housing Authority was doing. They spent a lot of time, I imagine, researching where we were, our strategic plan, some of the things that we discussed, and their proposal really lined up with what we were proposing to do as a Housing Authority. Energy performance contracts across the board are essentially free to the Housing Authority. The way the program works is, one, the bidder has to guarantee that there will be no cost to the Housing Authority. So neither proposal has an upfront cost for the Housing Authority. They both must guarantee that these will be paid for through the savings of the program. So what happens essentially is they're going to do an investment grade audit and determine where we can save money. They'll use those savings to give us a loan that we will then use to upgrade systems, put in new systems. Even one of the discussions is a solar field here on site. But all those things are paid for and guaranteed through savings that the bidder has to create for us. If they don't create those savings, they actually have to cut us a check that allows us to then pay for the loan. So there really is no financial risk to the Housing Authority. The reason we have to pick a bidder, though, is to make sure that we're picking somebody who's really able to do the work and able to do the work the way we think that the work should be done. So we had myself, Carlos, and Megan did the review on those proposals, and we agreed that CTI Energy was the right firm to go to.
How long have these guys been around?
CTI Energy, I think about 10, 20 years, 10, 15?
About 2 years.
Okay.
What if they go out of business?
If they happen to go out of business, then the loan has to be paid for by them. We're really not on the hook really for anything in regards to these. The guarantee is theirs, regardless of what happens to them.
Who's giving us the loan then?
They go out, we get a bank loan, but again, it goes through a HUD process. HUD has to make them guarantee that the loan is going to be paid through other sources other than our own funds.
and did I read this right, that they come in and it's like heating systems and water systems?
It's basically anything related to a utility, heating systems, cooling systems, water. Like one of the big proposals, they're going to replace all of our toilets with the low flow toilets. So we go from 6 gallons of flush to 1.5 gallons of flush, or I think even less now. New shower heads, LED lighting. But it's basically any system that impacts our utilities.
And are these in all of our units, or?
The investment grade audits will tell a lot about where the opportunities for savings are, but it's generally intended to be across the board. It doesn't mean that they're going to hit every single unit or every single site. They are obviously going to look at the places where the savings are probably easiest to get and where they can get the most savings out of it.
And does this include like the stuff like where these guys come in and say, sign up and buy your power through us and we'll?
No.
This is not. So that's
no. This is just kind of mechanical systems. We're not going to change who we're buying our natural gas from or our electricity service from. Those are completely separate.
So if they change out like LED lights and then those break and have to have new ones put in, who pays for that?
All those items are warranted when they get put in. So the company that basically gave them to us warranties them.
Does CTI have a track record with public housing agencies?
Yes.
I thought so,
Using
yeah,
it out for the
a
past
long
few
time,
years.
okay.
They've done a lot of Midwestern, mid-sized agencies. Another difference between CTI, I think, and Johnson Controls is that Johnson Controls is a giant, major corporation. They generally deal with the Chicago's, the Cook Counties, the Philadelphias. I think one of the Miami-Dade. That's an entirely different scale of work, and you know we enter into that world, and we're kind of, I won't say an afterthought, but we are just not as big of a deal to them. CTI deals exclusively in the mid-range housing authorities like ours, where, you know, as a client, we're actually one of their larger clients. So we would actually get, I think, more attention because of the size of our agency.
So what's the benefit to us is that we just get new systems
Mhm.
and all these things?
So we get new systems, we get lower utility costs. After the loan is paid off, the savings of the energy remain ours. So, you know, where we're 10 years out, you know, if the loan is paid off in 10 years, every dollar we save after that is completely our dollars.
Well, how long is the warranty for the stuff that they put in? Like if they put in a new hot water heating system?
It depends on the particular item. I mean, some items are 20-year warranty, some items are 10, some items are 1. You know, it really does depend on the system. For example, a large boiler system more than likely has a 20-year warranty. LED lights probably at best has a 1-year warranty. You know, it really depends on the item that gets put in.
So then, somewhere I read that if they get through the audit and we decide not to move forward, then our reimbursement to them is just for their time during the audit, is that right? So we don't, so if we do a process like this, this vote would get them into the game, and then there's some sort of a phase 1 where they come through and say this is all the things that
Sure.
AHA can do.
We do have to, there will be a second approval that the board will have to do to actually approve us entering into the loan half of the agreement. We can't, that has to have a separate board resolution, you know, before we go and do that. This, like you said, is kind of getting them, they can now do the investment grade audit, they can now really come and figure out what it is, the kind of work that's gonna be done, and we would come back again later and say, okay, and they would make a presentation, same as when Barrett Green came, explaining, you know, what they're gonna do, how they're gonna do it, how long it's gonna take, what it's gonna cost, and how much the loan's gonna be, how it's gonna get paid back. All of those things will be explained at that time.
I think I think that would be kind of the way to do it for the board is to, you know, if we approve this, then they move forward, and then when they get to that point right there, then they kind of stop, educate us, I mean, along
Sure.
obviously with you and your team, so that because that'll be obviously the bigger thing. If they go forward and we don't like what they do, we owe them some dough for their time, but, you know.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, man, I've dealt with these before. I did one in Pittsburgh, I also did one in Atlanta. The cost for the investment grade audit is not substantial, all things considered. So if we did get to that point and say, you know what, it's really not what we wanna do, it's $20,000, it's not a big deal, really.
I can, yeah, cause I can tell you if they, and then I'm open-minded to whatever they say, but I'd be, when they come in and say we need new hot water heaters and it's gonna save us, you know, 30% on our bills, it won't be hard to convince me, but when they come here and say that their idea is to put solar panels all over 60 acres here, 12 acres, whatever, they're gonna have an uphill battle to convince me that that's like what we should be doing. So anyway, that's just
That was
my
mine. To
two
be honest with
cents.
you.
I'm sorry. You got me on like 80% or 90% of your things.
But we know your vote now, though.
Right.
Solar panels, I'm not so sure.
I'll tell them to keep that, don't even say nothing about the solar panels.
Maybe on the roof here I can buy, but not over all the green grass.
Yeah, I'll tell them, don't even say nothing about that.
Okay.
Any other questions? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
The motion is second. No other discussions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Do we have to revote or update the
done our annual review with our
Oh,
executive director?
thank you very much. Yes,
Okay, so I'll make a motion, we go into executive session to
yes.
discuss personnel, annual review of the executive director and, personnel.
Second.
The motion is seconded.